Headlines emerge over the last few days with statistics, different perspectives, and forecasts about how Metro Detroit is the most overvalued housing market in the United States. I'm going to break down what the headlines aren't telling you. Just to take a step back and shed light on how these headlines came to be, researchers at Florida Atlantic University and Florida International University have been doing research on the nation's housing market and came to the conclusion that after years of Atlanta dominating the charts, Detroit has bypassed the frontrunner. According to the data collected, homes in Metro Detroit are 40.79% overvalued compared to the long-term pricing trends and forecasts based on figures gathered at the end of May 2024 in the university's top 100 U.S. Housing Markets data, while Atlanta is sitting at 40.37% now. The question is why? Why is Detroit's housing market so overvalued based on the data? Ken H. Johnson, who is a real estate economist with FAU's College of Business, his perspective is the population growth is pretty stagnant in the area, and people are just leaving their current homes to form new ones, which has put a lot more pressure on a market that doesn't have enough homes to support this level of demand. And it's true, the housing market is incredibly unbalanced right now. You think back to your economy classes in high school where you talked about supply and demand constantly and the point where there's equilibrium when the two intersect. Well, supply is so low and the demand is off the charts high. And what I've been saying in several of my housing market videos over the year, especially post-COVID, is how this market is in desperate need of more inventory, and it holds true years later. The data collected in this study was taken from Zillow, where they would examine the difference in actual average selling price in a particular city and the city's statistically modeled average selling price to calculate whether the inventory in the city is being purchased at a premium or at a discount. And out of 100 of the researched housing markets, 98 of them are at a premium and just 2 are not. And that's Honolulu and New Orleans. There have been a lot of perspectives on these headlines from mortgage professionals, real estate professionals, economists, etc. And despite the boom that has happened in Metro Detroit home prices, there's 2 things I'm hearing most commonly. One, the market must not be that overvalued if there are still bidding wars and the willingness to purchase homes well over asking price. And 2, home values are going to continue to rise for the foreseeable future, and forecasts theorize maybe 3 years, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years. And the truth is, no one knows the answer to that. The researchers simply say that home prices will fall back to where the long-term trends should be, but the concern is, how will home prices get there? Will there be a housing crash? Will things just plummet? Will prices just drop slowly and ease back into it? Should sellers be given an incentive to sell, just as buyers have been given every program under the sun to purchase a home with as little as 0% down, just to try and balance out the inventory? Most sellers would say it would have to be one heck of incentive to sell a home while they are sitting on a mortgage rate that could be at or lower than 3%. While digging deeper in this study, I thought to myself, okay, there's a lot of housing markets that are in different cycles right now. Is there one that can be actually learned from? And sure enough, the research brought up Austin, Texas, and how they are restabilizing, not crashing by any means, but slowly wiggling its way back as the area was 11.72% overvalued compared to when it was peaking at 46.70% in June 2022. What's unfortunate is, in a data sense, COVID has completely obliterated any long-term trend or forecast of the housing market, and the demand is getting stronger and stronger as the largest generation of home buyers is trying to jump into the housing market with both feet while the inventory is at historical lows. With all that being said, what does that mean for someone who is actually trying to purchase a home today in Metro Detroit? Is it the end of the world? Are you going to purchase and the 2008 recession is going to come back and swallow the state whole? Not likely, but the headlines sure do a good job of portraying that. I work with several people all over the world to relocate to Michigan, and I have actually had a few clients I was working with say they no longer want to move to Michigan because Newsweek came out with an article that Detroit's housing market is crashing, everything's falling apart. And of course, I would never downplay a buyer or seller's concern in this housing market with the election coming, inflation being off the charts these days, buyers' affordability getting tighter and just tighter and tighter by the day. It's tough out there, and I empathize with everyone who is in the trenches right now just trying to get by and secure a home that should be a million times easier than it has been. I tell this story quite a bit to my clients as someone who started real estate in late 2017. It was a different time then. You could go to a showing, bring your parents by the next day and your aunt and cousin Billy the next day, sleep on the decision some more, then throw in an offer well below asking price and you'd get it accepted. There were no appraisal guarantees, bidding wars, waiving inspections, selling limbs, buying the sellers a steak dinner and helping them move just so your offer is accepted. The limbs thing is a little more of an over-exaggeration, but unfortunately, the steak dinner and helping with the moving is not. I did that on several occasions where it was a little hot and heavy with the bidding wars. All jokes aside, it's important to sit down and fully weigh your options and what you want out of life when it comes to homeownership. Yes, I am a realtor. Yes, I make money helping people buy and sell their homes, but I would never push someone to do either one of those things, especially if it didn't align with their goals. It's no secret that renting in this housing market is cheaper than purchasing a home, but there are still bidding wars and overly priced homes for rent out there in Metro Detroit. Do you rent? Do you live with a friend or a family member just to bank money for years and years and try to time the market? I'm all about banking money, but the last option about trying to time the market is something you shouldn't do because no one knows what will happen tomorrow. You could be waiting 3 years, 5 years just for something to happen then you're waiting another 3, 5, 10 years. So my advice for you is to get some trusted professionals in your corner, a mortgage professional, a real estate professional, whether it's me or not, and discuss your goals and aspirations with homeownership. Figure out how much you would need to save to feel as comfortable as possible to purchase a home. Be sure that your job and your partners, if you have one, are stable and consistent. Make a plan that you're comfortable with in a worst case scenario and just hope for the best because having more money saved than you intended is never a bad thing. The most important thing in this housing market is making sure that you can afford a home at that price with that down payment at that mortgage rate. Don't bank on, okay, I can afford this 8% rate, but it would need to go down to 4% in 1 year so I can have the ability to afford my mortgage still. And the mortgage person I'm working with says it's likely, and I saw someone in some Facebook group one time say that's also true, so I'm just going to do that. No. Purchase a home based on what the rates and fees are now, not what they are projected to be. I have talked about marrying the house and dating the rate. It's a gross saying, and despite that, it holds true because the rate changes and your house doesn't. That's the only reason that it's true. But you still need to be able to afford the home right now. There's an abundance of conflicting information when it comes to the housing market. You have headlines and articles saying this, your Uncle Jim is saying that, a realtor you know says something else, and a guy on YouTube says something even more different. It's exhausting, but the decision for you to move forward, stay put, or do a complete 180 doesn't need to be complicated. Just take a little bit of time and think it out. There's no perfect time to buy a home. It's about making sure you're ready for a home, not only financially, but mentally. Your finances are stable and consistent to some extent. I'm self-employed, so I feel for you people out there in that situation too. And try and stay within your budget. I know that can be a hard ask based on what the offers that are getting accepted, but make sure if you do go over your intended budget, understand what that does to your payment, and if you need to do an appraisal guarantee, make sure you have extra funds to make that happen before you're letting your emotions take over and push you to make a bad decision. And I know that's some interesting advice to hear, but it's the reality of today's housing market. There's so many people out there that are saying that you need to do this, do that, but then all the comments under that video are like, how in this world can I afford that? How could I do this? How could I pay off this? How could I pay this cash? Do a 15-year mortgage, do this, do that, have no debt. It's exhausting. So you just need to do what you can with what you have. Budgeting takes a lot of discipline, I know. So if you're someone who could be better with it, I have linked a home budget template I created in the description to help you do just that, and I have used it myself too. I know this topic took a wild turn from the beginning, but the truth is, based on this data, 98 out of 100 housing markets are being purchased in at a premium. Metro Detroit isn't the only market where homes are expensive, according to the data, and if you're someone who's just going to hold tight and try to time the market, or if you're someone that wants to purchase a home today, make sure that you are fully equipped and ready to purchase a home. As realtors, we talk about how we help people with the biggest financial decision in their lifetime that has such a deeper meaning in today's housing market, because a lot of people have debt to income ratios that are nearing 50%, which makes getting a mortgage an even bigger financial decision than before. You will lose offers. You will get kicked down a few times, but the truth is there's a great benefit to being a buyer in the market today and constantly viewing homes. You get a sense of what is worth this, what is worth that. You develop a standard when walking a home that is priceless. And if you're serious about buying a home, never stop looking until you get one, because it will tip in your favor. I see it every single day. Referring to the article, are you surprised about the headlines about Metro Detroit? Why or why not? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you're thinking about moving to Michigan in one day or a million, I have a link to the Living in Michigan newsletter to give you some insight on all things Michigan, so be sure to subscribe so you never miss out. Thanks for watching. Until next time.